The alarm on my wrist screamed before I even opened my eyes, and I already knew what it meant. The last ship off this planet was leaving in 20 minutes, and if I missed it, I would be stuck on a world that was about to become a battlefield. I rolled off the cot inside the barn, grabbed my jacket, and my hands were already shaking. Not from fear of dying, from what I knew I had to do in the next few minutes, and how much I did not want to do it. Her name was Wisp. That is what she asked me to call her, because it was the only word she could say from my language without her mouth struggling. She was small, with gray skin like riverstone, and eyes too big for her face, and she had been following me for 11 days like a shadow that had decided it liked me. I stepped outside into the cold morning air, and she was already standing there, waiting, like she knew. Children should not be able to read your face the way she read mine. But she looked at me, and her small shoulders dropped, and she said one word. Number. I crouched down so we were eye to eye. Her father, a quiet farmer named Doran, stood a few steps behind her, arms crossed, watching with a face that was trying very hard to stay calm for his daughter's sake. I need to go, I told her. My people need me. There is a ship coming for me, and if I do not get on it, bad things will happen. Not just to me, to everyone. She did not move. She reached out with both of her small hands and grabbed mine. The way you grab something you are afraid will float away if you let go. I tried to gently pull my hand back. She held on tighter. For a child that small, her grip felt like iron. I have to go, Wisp, I said again, softer this time. No, she said again. Just that one word. It was not stubbornness. It was something deeper. Something that scared me more than the alarm on my wrist. Doran stepped forward to pull her away, but I raised a hand to stop him. Something in me needed her to understand, even if she was too young to fully understand war, or distance, or promises that men like me had no right to make. I looked into her eyes and I said, "Listen to me. The ship that is coming is not just for me. It is going to help stop other ships, bad ships, ships that want to hurt your home. Every second I stay here talking to you is a second those bad ships get closer to your farm, to your father, to you. I am not leaving because I want to. I am leaving so that I can come back and make sure nothing happens to this place." Her grip did not loosen. "I am going to come back," I told her. "I promise. I want to be honest with you about something. I had no right to make that promise. I was not a soldier by training. I was a repair technician who had been thrown into a war I did not choose, on a ship that was not built for battle, flying next to men and women who had far more reason to make promises like that than I did. But in that moment, looking at a child who refused to let go of my hand, the promise came out of me before I could stop it, and once it was out, I meant every word of it. Something changed in her eyes. She did not believe me completely, I could tell, but she believed that I believed it, and for a 7-year-old standing in the middle of a war she did not start and did not understand, that was enough. She let go. I stood up, and my legs felt heavier than they had any right to feel. I looked at Doran, and he gave me a small nod, the kind of nod that says thank you, and please come back at the same time. I ran toward the field where the ship was already lifting off dust from its engines. I turned around once, just once, and I saw her standing perfectly straight, her small hand raised, not waving, just held up in the air, like she was trying to keep touching something that was already gone. I got on that ship with my heart pounding harder than it had during any actual danger I would face over the following months. What came after that morning was not something I expected to survive. I was placed on escort duty, protecting supply convoys moving between defense lines. I was not trained for combat, but the war did not care about training. It cared about hands that could work, minds that could fix broken engines under pressure, and people willing to stay awake for days at a time to keep ships flying. There were nights where the enemy ships came so close that our sensors screamed warnings before we even saw them on the screen. There were mornings where I counted the people around me and realized the number was smaller than the night before. I will not describe those losses in detail, because some things do not need details to hurt. It is enough to say that war takes things from you slowly, and then all at once, and you spend a long time afterward trying to understand what exactly you have left. Through all of it, I thought about her, about that raised hand in the dust, about a promise I had made without permission from anyone, including myself. There were days I doubted I would live long enough to keep it. There were nights I lay awake, staring at the metal ceiling of whatever ship I was assigned to, wondering if Doran's farm was still standing, or if it had become part of a battlefield report I would read the next morning, with someone else's tears in my eyes instead of my own. 8 months passed like that. Long enough that I stopped counting days and started counting battles instead. Long enough that the person who had left that farm was not quite the same person who was now flying back toward it. The turning point came when our forces broke through the enemy line at a place called the Hemlock Corridor. I will not describe the details of how that happened, only that it worked, and that for the first time in 8 months, ships were finally moving in the direction of home instead of away from it. When the order came that the corridor was open and transports were being released for return trips, I did not wait to be assigned. I asked. I pushed. I used every favor I had earned over 8 months of sleepless nights to get a seat on the very first transport heading back toward that region of space. The trip back felt longer than the entire war. I sat by a small window, watching stars pass, running through every version of what I might find. Maybe the farm was gone. Maybe Doran had moved his family somewhere safer. Maybe Wisp had grown so much in 8 months that she would not even remember the strange visitor who once fixed engines in her father's barn. When the transport finally landed, my legs were shaking again, but this time, it was not fear of leaving. It was fear of what I might not find. I walked the same path I had run down 8 months earlier. The barn was still standing. The field still had the same soft golden grass bending in the wind. And then I saw her. She was taller now. Not by much, but enough that I noticed immediately. She was standing near the gate with Doran, and for a moment, neither of us moved, like the world was holding its breath to make sure this moment was real before letting either of us react. Then she ran. She crossed that field faster than I thought her small legs could carry her, and I dropped to my knees just in time to catch her as she threw her arms around my neck. Her hands found mine again, gripping just as tightly as they had the day I left. Except this time, there was no fear in that grip, only relief. "You said you would come back," she said, her voice muffled against my shoulder. "I did," I told her. "I told you I would." She pulled back just enough to look at my face, checking. The way children check to make sure something they wanted badly is actually true, and not something they imagined. "I kept my promise," I said again, quieter this time, mostly for myself. She did not let go of my hand for the rest of that day. She held it while we walked back to the farmhouse. She held it while her father made tea and asked me questions about the places I had seen. She held it while the sun went down over that quiet, golden field, the same field that had once felt like the edge of the world to me, and now felt like the only place in the galaxy I actually wanted to be. I did not try to pull my hand away this time. I do not think I ever will again.